Let's talk about why you should consider coaching your clients or patients through a pelvic floor contraction. I know it's all the rage right now to just relax, 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 never contract the pelvic floor, don't do a Kegel, but I'd like to make an argument for doing Kegels or pelvic floor contractions, however you want to call them, because I think that building muscle bulk, hypertrophy, and strength in this area is incredibly important, especially when we look at aging. So I think we can't go wrong with getting stronger in an area, and we have a little bit of research backing that up, showing that general hard exercise does not necessarily strengthen the pelvic floor as much as it does the other muscles that we're targeting. I mean, that makes sense, right? We wouldn't expect to do squats and have it get our biceps stronger because we're not working that part of our body. So sure, we get a little bit of carryover with full body exercises, but sometimes you have to focus on the muscle at hand. Now, this will not be the case if someone is dealing with a lot of tension. Obviously, if they're dealing with a lot of tension, they've got to deal with that tension first. But I would like to argue that working on strength, once we get down that initial tension, is only going to be beneficial for giving them more control over their pelvic floor and thus being able to relax later. But that is definitely a process and best done with somebody that is helping them in person. Now, let's talk about strengthening. When you coach somebody through a pelvic floor contraction, I just want to give you a couple very easy tips. One, make sure they are contracting their pelvic floor. Make sure they're not contracting their adductors. Make sure they're not squeezing their glutes. Make sure you're actually getting those primary pelvic floor muscles. So if they feel a lot of pulling sensation out here or at their sits bones, then you might be getting more glute deep rotator than you are primary pelvic floor. So focus on what you're feeling in the middle and make sure you're not feeling a lot out by the sides. The other thing we want to think about is a squeeze and a lift. So this can be really great to describe to somebody of like you're drinking a smoothie or using the claw machine to grab a stuffed animal. So you're going to close and then you're going to lift. So think about it as being two parts. So that can be really beneficial. So those are some really basic, easy things to work somebody through it. And I think that adding in primary pelvic floor muscle contractions, if somebody's not dealing with a lot of tightness, can be really beneficial for the long-term health and strength of those pelvic floor muscles. And as a side note before I go, some people will need some sort of biofeedback device. So something that tells them when they're relaxing, when they're contracting, and when they're contracting deeply. So if you are someone who needs a device, go ahead and get one because then you can have that biofeedback to help you with that pelvic floor contraction.